The MC basically helps accounting firms with their marketing. Tonight is talking about content, but pretty much a go-to guy if you are starting a firm or running a firm and you want to learn the basics. They have a training program as well as now starting to do some marketing implementation for your firm. Um, MC, you might want to explain how that transition's worked as part of the spiel for yourself, but thank you very much for joining us. We might still have some laggards drag in from behind. Um, but thank you very much for taking the time out at home to join us this evening.
Cool.
And I'm going to shut that window.
All right. Well, thanks for inviting me, Guy, and the Practice Ignition crew. Hi, everyone. Tonight, I will share with you part of the content marketing cycle. And that goes from strategy, presence, publish, right through to automation and onboarding and delivering of services to new clients. Now we have 30 minutes. So we won't cover all of that tonight because we simply can't, but I'll give you insights into some really crucial parts of that. Now, Guy mentioned before what we do at Practice Paradox, or we're Paradox for short. Essentially, we're a digital marketing agency who allow, you can outsource pretty much anything to us. So the most common scenario we get is people just don't know where to start with their marketing. So we always start with strategy, getting you clear on who you're targeting, how do you want to be perceived and positioned in the marketplace. We also look at things such as your service mix and business model, but we just cover all areas. If you need things designed, you need content produced, you need things, techie things built on your website, on the back end integrations, and also importantly, metrics in terms of measuring whether your marketing works. There's not much point doing marketing if you're not measuring it. So we take a very pragmatic approach. We combine marketing and innovation. We love technology. I've been the co-founder of two technology businesses, one a software business, some of you may have heard of, called Business Fitness, and a medical device business as well. But when you combine marketing and innovation, it's a pretty potent mix because marketing is incredible leverage in communicating the value of what it is you do, and innovation is how you deliver it. But strategy that I mentioned is important, but also business model. If you have your business model poorly designed, your business will always be hard work. Now, we deal with accountants, business advisors, financial planners, and everyone in those circles. And if you Google marketing for accountants, you'll find us number one. And we're number one in a lot of countries for that. So we're attracting people from all over the globe, which is really interesting because we don't deal with the typical accounting firms at all. We deal probably with the innovative 2% of firms, and you guys being in the Practice Ignition circles are pretty much the type of tech savvy firms that we tend to deal with. We pretty much can't help the laggards. Our little catch cry, we want to help firms break out of their box. So really that means the compliance box. It means the box, the perceptual box that your clients have you pigeonholed in. And combining the marketing and innovation and understanding leverage is how you achieve it. So let's get into the content now that you understand where I'm coming from. To break your firm out of the box, you need to tick 3 boxes, or in this diagram's case, 3 circles. You need to look great, you need to sound great, and you have to be great. Now, by look great, we mean your design and branding, but that in and of itself is not enough. We call that marketing for pretty pictures. I don't know if you've ever seen or know firsthand, or some of your clients may have spent $10,000, $20,000 on a website, and they're wondering what the return on investment is. They're not clear on the metrics. So there's no point looking great alone, but it is important. Sound great is where we really help firms produce great content, so blog posts, social media, we'll talk a bit about that later. But it's got to be based on a clear message, which is based on your strategy. And the third one, well, you need to deliver on your promises. And we're always clear to make sure that you're focused on things you can scale. One of our mantras is if you can't scale it, don't sell it, because you'll just make the bottlenecks in the firm that exists already worse. So tonight's focus is influence at scale, how to influence your clients to want to do those higher level value add, future focused services with you, but also how to attract clients that want that. Now, to master communication, there's 3 levels, and a lot of people don't even succeed in mastering the first level, which is just to convey information clearly so that people understand you. Persuade. Sometimes people think marketing and sales is about persuasion. But it's actually not, but that is one level of mastery up from convey. But ultimately, it's about influence. And the difference there is when you convey information, the other person says, I get it. So let's say you just explained why they need a real-time dashboard or why they need to set up a self-managed super fund or whatever it is. So they get it. But do they go ahead? So persuade is they agree, but when they're persuaded, they know they've been persuaded. They may leave the meeting going, might have second thoughts on that. Whereas when you are an influencer, your client and you together feel like you decided. It was a mutual decision. And the key there is convey and persuade operate at the conscious level of the brain, whereas influence works at the subconscious level. It's an incredibly powerful tool. There's some brilliant books in that area I could recommend if you want to drop me a line afterwards. Now, to do the influencing at scale, you need to combine an understanding of the psychology, but you need to harness the technology. And there's brilliant technology available, and I'll share some examples tonight. So firstly, the psychology. There have been a lot of studies over the years that have reinforced this statistic. Depending where the study's from, the number's somewhere between 5 and 8. So people buy after 5 positive interactions with a brand. You know, each of us, we don't hear about something and instantly buy it. Particularly today with digital, online, social search, people get to know you and your business from afar in a series of steps. I really don't like the word touches. It doesn't sound right, really, does it? But 5 touches. So if you understand that psychology, you can build what we call a conveyor belt of influence. And a conveyor belt of influence, that's just our metaphor to describe good use of digital, online, and social media marketing, content-driven marketing, and we'll drill into some examples of that, but I'm assuming many of you are across the basics, so that's why I'll go fast tonight. And marketing automation is one of the most exciting things as a business owner you will ever come across and grasp and utilize. It's like having 24/7 salespeople finding opportunities and nurturing prospects for you. Now, on the social media side of things, we've been talking to accounting firms about how to use social media and do blogging, content-driven marketing for over 6 years now. And I remember when I spoke at a conference, Accountants Technology Showcase, still in my business fitness days, I covered 25 cloud-based marketing apps that were worth looking at. And I had people afterwards come up to me and say, what are you talking about, MC? What does an accounting firm need a blog for? And in fact, the main providers to the accounting profession at that point didn't even have a blogging component within their offering. They thought I was off my tree. Same with Twitter. People going, what does an accountant have to do with Twitter? That's just for the kids. I said, well, this is where marketing is headed. So we were a little bit ahead of the curve with moving into this space because we were providing something that the vast majority of people didn't know that they could utilize. Whereas at XeroCon last week, show of hands, who was at XeroCon at all in Melbourne? Anyone? The digital, thanks for that. The digital marketing session that had a few different presenters in it, it was packed to the rafters, quite literally. People standing across the back wall, sitting down the aisles. And that was good to see because clearly the time has come where people know that they need to tap into that. And people like, organizations like Xero, Practice Ignition and Savvy providers to the profession are, I think, helping a lot to educate people in that regard. Now, one of the nice things about building a conveyor belt of influence, and this is paradoxical, doesn't seem true on first sighting, is that this style of marketing actually produces inquiries that are better than a typical referral. So if you're raising an eyebrow or two on that, the reason is with this style of content-driven automated marketing, you control the message. Whereas with referrals, you don't control the message. You don't know what your client is actually saying to the prospective client. They might say, go see John, go see Jane, they're really nice. Or worse than that, they're cheap. They're good value. You really don't know what they're saying. Whereas when people come along your conveyor belt of marketing, and I'll give some more examples in a moment of that, they're warm, pre-educated, they're already sold on you as a business, as a brand, your values, what you're about, and the conversation very quickly moves into more of a scoping and a proposal situation, which is where Practice Ignition is the single best tool I've ever seen for doing what we call real-time collaborative scoping and pricing with someone in the meeting. The days of I'll get the proposal to you later, that's a symptom, very clear sign that you're doing old school sales process. Now, one of our poster children, growth-wise, firm out of Newcastle. If you've been around the Xero circles, many of you will know Steph, many of you, I know, Guy, you know Steph really well. And she was the first graduate of our Modern Marketing Academy. She'd been in business with her new firm for 12 months at that time and described herself as, that phrase again, not knowing where to start. In fact, she used the word paralyzed when it came to marketing. Now, in the last 5 years, year on year, she's doubled her revenue. Now, I'll explain how and why she's gone about that. She's built a really good sense of community. One of the things that we educate people around is it's not just about building a client base. Sure, that's great. But it's the higher level is building a community. And clearly what you're part of tonight with the meetup is a living, breathing example of that. But yeah, they double their revenue each year for the last 5 years. They get 24, last time I checked with Steph, 24 new clients a month where the original lead came out of social media engagement. And the way they've done this is not traditional marketing, it's through marketing and innovation. And the beauty of what Steph's done is that she's a great implementer and she's just gone ahead and implemented what we've taught her. She's actually never used our done for you services. Most of what we do these days are services like blogging, social media content, building websites, whereas Steph just learned from the academy and just went and did it. And this was her 5th birthday email that she sent out. And it was great to see she was recounting the major milestones in the business, the major influences on their success. And they did this little infographic. Some of the things there might be a bit hard for you to see on the screen, but there's almost 41,000 electronic signatures have gone through the firm. They won a couple of Xero awards, including Xero Partner of the Year. Their growth rate compounded over that time. At this point in time, how many Xero setups? And the beauty is that their leverage ratio of chargeable to non-chargeable is about 20 to 1. Now, in the benchmarking statistics, normally 7 chargeable to 1 non-chargeable staff is upper quartile, quite good. So they're doing 20 to 1 on that. So they're doing a lot of things really right. But here's the dollar amount that they've spent on outbound marketing, which is what most people think of when the word marketing comes to mind. So within the content marketing cycle, let's look at a couple of examples of how to apply this thinking. Now, content marketing, and I can see a few tweets coming through, content marketing is a waste of time, including social media, if you don't have a very strong and clear strategy. That's why a lot of people don't get traction and feel, yeah, I'll use social media, but don't know if it's working because it's not a focused strategy. Now, a very quick overview of something we go into a lot more depth on. We do a full hour just on this topic that I'm going to cover in a minute. Every business only has a few strategies, generic strategies available to them. Now, Michael Porter, some of you may have read some of Porter's papers over the years. He's a Harvard professor, like Porter's 5 Forces of Competitiveness, brilliant model. But with the generic strategies, every business has only 3 strategies to win in the marketplace. One's cost leadership. That's not lowest price, that's lowest cost producer. Secondly, differentiation. And thirdly, focus. And differentiation is not what most small businesses, including accounting, bookkeeping, advisory firms, think it is. Differentiation is true differentiation. So a pharmaceutical company that has a patented pharmaceutical, they're differentiated. Someone who's actually built a unique piece of technology that their competitors don't have access to, according to Porter's model, that's differentiation. It's not saying you're different or better or more dedicated or more experienced or more caring, blah, 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 which is what everyone says on their, nearly everyone, many firms say on their websites. So the opportunity for most firms is not a differentiation strategy, but a focus strategy. It's not about saying you're better, but it's about taking a unique position in the market. So it's a very quick overview of Porter's view of strategy, which we utterly agree with, and there's only 4 options with you can combine those 3 things into. Now, another absolute guru I can highly recommend you read everything he's ever written is Herman Simon. He's got a great book called Hidden Champions. And in that, he studied 50 businesses that were market leaders internationally, but they were brand names and companies that most of us have not heard of before. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of tired of hearing about, the Apples and the Microsofts and the whatevers. There are a dime a dozen of those examples. They're good examples. But in his book, Hidden Champions by Herman Simon, what he did in a very robust academically way is to look at the common characteristics of these 50 businesses that were clearly dominating their niches. And one of the characteristics was inch wide, mile deep, meaning they were inch wide in their focus in what they did, either in target markets, so verticals, or in service offering. They're very specialized. And they went mile deep in their expertise. So they were serving their market in ways that not only were their competitors not doing, but hadn't even thought of doing. So inch wide, mile deep is a great way to cut a swathe into a marketplace and really stand out quite quickly. Now, there are operational advantages going inch wide, mile deep. You get really good at what you're doing. You get really streamlined, really systemized, fast and efficient, and very profitable. And that's all good. But from a marketing perspective, you become more memorable. Your message becomes stickier. People can say your brand name and then say, oh yeah, they're the people who, and don't just say, yeah, they're accountants or they're bookkeepers. They actually say something that people remember and then pass on. It's easy to reach the tribe, so birds of a feather flock together. And I'll show you an example of a firm who works with us out of Massachusetts in the States in a moment, who's using that well. Online marketing and SEO becomes so much easier when you're very focused in who you're trying to reach and what your message is. And it allows you to speak their language. It allows you to use phrases, terminology, level of vocabulary that is a perfect fit, so that when they read your content on your website, your social media, they really feel like they're talking to someone who gets them, who is one of them. All really powerful reasons, because you'll connect better with your marketplace. McGaw & Schwadron, they're based east of Boston. They're on the coastline of Massachusetts. And they went through our Modern Marketing Academy, where we teach this structured modular approach of get your strategy right, get your digital presence right, start attracting targeted traffic, convert that, nurture it, etc. And when he came to us, he was doing what most firms do and accepting anyone who was willing to sign on the dotted line. So following these methodologies of focus-based strategy and clear positioning, he decided with our guidance to focus on dental and veterinary practices. They also do have a third segment that they go after of startups. But if you look at their website, and I'll just go through a few screenshots here, it really speaks very strongly to dentists and veterinarians who are in public practice in that area. And the marketing message has been really strong, but even operationally, he's developed an app that he calls Practice Radar that pulls in financial and non-financial key performance indicators and lead indicators that are the things that produce their results. Because as you know, financial indicators are generally lag indicators. They're the scoreboard at the end of the game. Most lead indicators that are going to produce those results are marketing related in general. So when people discover him, read his blog posts, look at his offerings, they go, well, why would I go anywhere else? So he's pulling clients from all over the United States. This is from the bottom of his homepage. On the left, recent blogs. On the right, announcements. He now gets paid to do his marketing. So getting paid to do your marketing is a very, very good thing. So clearly, he speaks at webinar series and at conferences where the professional bodies in these professions say, can you please come and talk to us on how veterinary practices can best structure their businesses financially, or how to best manage their cash flow. And his business, he has people literally lined up to become clients of his. There's his Practice Radar app there. So that was a very quick overview of the importance of strategy. Now I'm going to skip presence. Presence is making sure that you exist and are prominent digitally. You'd be surprised how many people don't even have fully completed and fully branded their Google Plus page. You get penalized big time when you don't have your My Business profile filled out in Google, and that's one of about 17 different areas that you need to get right on presence. But publish. This is so crucial. Publishing is about educating and, dare I say, inspiring. It kind of feels a bit uncomfortable to think your job as inspiring others, but it is. Because unless you inspire people so that they understand the gap between where they are now and where they can be, they're not going to spend discretionary income, which is what it is, because they have to do their best, they have to do their year end, they have to comply with ATO and ASIC. So grudge purchases, commodities, but with your value-added services, they have a lot of choice, even in which professions they can get that from. So you've got to educate them and inspire them. And modern marketing is content-driven. You know what that means, but to run through some very quick examples, run your eye down that infographic from blueglass.com. Articles, social media, blogs, e-newsletters, case studies, in-person events, you're at one now, videos, white papers, webinars, and so on. Brilliant. All of these things, though, are the same content, just published in different channels. And in your head right now is an endless stream of content, because content are your ideas, your thoughts, your opinions, your models, your advice on the front end of what people can do and how you can help them position their business well and their financial affairs, depending what it is that you do. Now, it's one thing to know that. We all know that. We're all consumers of this content. But who's driving your content in your business? And why is that important? Well, as the professors and academics at universities say, you need to publish or perish. If you don't consistently publish online, you pretty much don't exist. And that's not just on your website, though it is on your blog. It's also social media, it's video, it's slide decks. There's all different ways you can get your content out there. And once you learn how, it's not that hard. But I want you to erase from your brain the word marketing from now on and just think of it as education, because that's just a simpler way to think about it. Because all you need to think is, who am I teaching? What are we teaching them? And how well do we communicate? Because that's, at the end of the day, sadly, the best technicians don't win. I wish that was true. It really annoyed me when I first came across that, but the best communicators win. It's not to say be a average or poorly technician. Be good at what you do, but that will not differentiate you. It's just expected. So once you're good at communicating, you've got to do it often and you've got to do it strategically. Now, the new way of marketing versus the old way of most firms are still marketing. I asked a firm once who was talking to us, going through our marketing gap analysis process that we step firms through when they first talk to us. And I said, so how are you generating new business at the moment? And he goes, pounding the pavement and knocking on doors. I said, that sounds like hard work. He said, it is. I said, do you enjoy it? He said, no, I don't. So outbound marketing is you going out and either literally or figuratively knocking on doors, interrupting people. Even things like business breakfasts that are not bang on in your sweet spot in your target market. Personally, it's a waste of time. When you're a thought leader, you'll go to events where there's 20, 50, 100 people who will bang on prospects for what you do, not to some breakfast with 25 people hoping that someone's going to give you a random referral. Prospecting. I cannot believe the people that use LinkedIn for outbound in-mail. That's just cold, unsolicited email. Waste of time. Please never buy a list either. You're better off having a list that you grow yourself that's got 50 on it than buying a list of 5,000. Some coaches and consultants to the accounting profession give some very outdated advice in that area. Beware. Now, outbound marketing, throw it out the window. You can do a bit of it if you want to, but inbound marketing is the one that will have people lining up at your door because they find you. Social media is one way. SEO, powerful. Most small businesses totally underutilizing SEO for their website. And the sad thing is there's a lot of SEO consultants out there that are pretty bad at what they do and they don't understand this vertical. So whatever you do, don't sign up for like a 12-month contract with an SEO type provider. They can wreck your website content as well if they're just techie focused. So have great website content, do educational blog posts, ebooks, reports. Video and webinars are great. Like we've done webinars where we've sold $170,000 plus of services off the back of a webinar without leaving our chair. And we teach firms how to do the same thing. Events and workshops are brilliant. They always have been and they will continue to be. But the beauty there, as I said earlier, is that they're pre-sold on you, they understand you, and they see you already as a guru, as a thought leader. And you don't have to explain what you do. They've already read that on your website. And that first conversation is all about just making sure there's a fit between what it is you do. And that first meeting becomes beautiful. So you'll convert leads faster, but not just faster, but in a way that is higher client share. Client share is a word we coined that means how many services does a client do for you versus market share, which is how many clients do you have within your target market? So the advantages are immutable. Couple of case studies for you. I can see I've got 5 minutes. Inspire CA, a Paradox member, been through our academy. They came to us after someone had told them to go buy a list and do other old-fashioned stuff. Here's a blog post. The title there is Life's Too Short, 4 Types of Bad Clients That Don't Belong in Your Business. So it's a thought leadership piece that a lot of people in small business can relate to. And that went through our article service. We have a blogging service where you can just send a rough draft and we'll polish it, do the copywriting, do the headline, do the SEO, find and create an image, publish it to your website and promote it across social media for the next 2 years if it's an evergreen post that doesn't date. Now, can you see there the 106? 106 people have read this article and thought it worthy of sharing to their Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Now, most people have at least 100 frontline connections across their social media. Many have a lot more than that. So that's people doing word of mouth marketing for this firm for themselves. So they reach thousands of people with that article. Note, it's not teaching people how to do tax or bookkeeping. It's things about how to get ahead in your business. Make sure everything you do is mobile responsive. This was shown in a session at Xerocon. These are people outside the Vatican at a civic event in April 2005. And then 8 years later in 2013, the difference when you contrast them clearly, this has been one of the biggest societal changes in how people consume information ever. It's just as big as the web, clearly, mobile is. So make sure everything you publish, every web form, every email, every part of your website, every landing page is optimized for mobile. Now, when you're wanting to attract targeted traffic, don't go after the broad terms that are at the head of the statistics, which is basically the opposite of where you want to focus, which is the long tail. I won't go into detail now. There's a great book by Chris Anderson who popularized the concept from an SEO online marketing perspective. The beauty of the long tail, it's searches that might not get 10,000 searches a day, but might get 50, and you can get to number 1 in Google when you target more specific phrases. And they're also more readily convertible. So rather than a short keyword phrase, let's say you're in financial planner, very broad, that's at the head. A lot of people going after that. Even financial planner in a location, quite broad. But once you start to target natural language phrases, more specific things, you'll get to number 1 in Google for those phrases. An example on that, here's a firm that we've done a lot of content marketing and strategy with, OTM Group. They're on the Sunshine Coast. They focus on self-managed super as well as accounting and how to buy property with super fund, Sunshine Coast. They're number 1 in Google for that. They're also, last time I looked, number 2, number 5, number 7. They're just smashing the front page of Google on that. And using content marketing, they went from doing 1 self-managed super fund setup a week to doing double that in 5 months. And 2 years on now, they're doing five a week on average. Their monthly target is 20, and they typically hit that. And again, it's all this style of marketing. And they're very good at it now. They're prolific with their blogging. Even though they're based on the Sunshine Coast, they're even number 1 for phrases in relation to Brisbane and property investment because they've decided to target those with different blog posts and different topics over time. Okay, so what I'd like you to do right now is give very serious thought to what is your firm's number 1 target SEO phrase and write that down to yourself if you've got note-taking ability. You'd be surprised, or maybe you wouldn't be, that whenever someone sends us a draft blog post to polish SEO and publish, first thing we ask is what SEO phrase are we targeting there? 9 times out of 10, or more than that, 95% of the time, people say, I don't know, haven't thought about that. And that's crucial. And just to wrap up, can I go another 3 minutes, Guy?
Okay, mate, you're pushing it.
Okay. Very briefly, let data be your friend. You know, marketing is not about those pretty pictures and ponytails. The data will tell you whether your marketing works or not. So here's a website audit report. I'll give you my email address at the end. And if you want us to run one of these on your website, whether it's your homepage or a particular landing page on your site, and a phrase that you're targeting in the search engines, primarily Google, of course, we can run a report that will show you all the things at the moment that if you addressed them would improve your Google ranking. And it's then really a methodical process to go through and fix these things. And you can either fix them with a web developer that you're already using who does SEO, or we can provide that service as well. So get rid of the smoke and mirrors around marketing and have a really structured step-by-step approach that must start with strategy. It doesn't have to take months to get your strategy right, but then step-by-step use the content-driven marketing, and it takes the black box mystery out of what a lot of people think is a creative pursuit, which it's certainly not. So that was a lot in half an hour. I'll just put up on the screen for everyone, and I'll be around for questions later. If you'd like that website audit report, email me at mc@practiceparadox.com.au, and I'll have a look while in Marketing We Trust, who are up next, are presenting. I'll go through all of the tweets and prepare myself for the Q&A a bit later on. Hope that's been of value, guys.
Thanks, MC.
And I can see Sholto.
Yep,
G'day, Sholto.
so
Recognise that.
I've just written your email address up on the board behind the screen, which you won't be able to see.
All right.
But
Cool,
thanks,
guys.
mate.
I'll be back for
if
Q&A.
you can pause. Perfect. Thanks, mate.
Okay. Cheers.